Hello. Hello, friends. Welcome to this event. So long time that we didn't have an event here, right? Thank you to the stock market, stock exchange, Boursa. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you all. You're coming from so much different places in the world. Friends from Australia, friends from the Valley, friends from US, from Europe, from Austria, from Russia, everywhere. So welcome. Welcome and thank you for joining this great event. I think it is going to be the sexiest event we had in Tel Aviv for the last 10 years. When Silicon Valley decided to join us here in Tel Aviv. For once, we're not going to take this terrible plane to San Francisco. They did it for us. So I'm very, very proud, and all the Sarona family, we are so proud to host our friends from Andreessen Horowitz and Spark Capital and Kotu and GFC, but also you guys, fantastic guys, joining us and being with us all along these years. So I'm Philip. I'm a co-founder of Sarona ecosystem. And as you know, different life. I'm also co-founder of Deal and founder of Prodware. So-called serial entrepreneur. Came to Israel in 2012 for 1 month and decided to stay. And for this moment, we've been helping, investing, and addressing this market of Israeli startups. We started, at this time I remember, we said we're going to change the mindset of the Israeli startup. They need to do business. They don't need to think exit. People are saying, well, you're going to change the story. It's not going to happen. We did it. And so we did it so well. And you will meet all these crazy, fantastic entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, unicorn, 10 of them today speaking to you. We did it here. And now it's time for US to come and learn. No, I'm kidding. But it's time for US also to come and to have more interaction between us, Europe, and the US. So I'm very, very proud, very proud. I'm very sorry we don't have enough room. Mr. Boursa, you need to push the walls. But I'm sure people are having fun there. So thanks again for coming. I'm very, very proud to have you on board. I'm going to call my partner too, Shani, the CEO of Sarona Partners. She's going to moderate all this day. She's going to do a good job. I'm the chairman, so not time for me to sit.
He's only doing the important things. Hi, everyone. And thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure to having you here. And I saw somewhere in the audience, we have a very young entrepreneur. I don't know if you saw her over there. They brought a baby over to the event. Good, you need to start learning entrepreneurship from an early age. Important. So thank you so much. I'm Tut. I am a partner at Sarona, and I am the CEO of the group. And today, we're speaking about Silicon Valley. We all know Silicon Valley. We all been in Silicon Valley, and we go there to meet the most important people. But we think it's about time that they will come to us. And so I am very happy and honored to welcome you all to the first Silicon Valley Comes to Tel Aviv conference. This event is hosted by Sarona Partners Group. And who are we? We are the biggest startup innovation ecosystem in Israel. And we lie on 2 main operating principles. One is innovation, technology and innovation. And the other one is business. And our magic happens when we connect the two. Every single morning, when myself and Philip and David wake up and the team, we ask ourselves one question. How can we make someone's business a little bit stronger today? This is what we ask ourselves when we wake up every morning. And we've been doing that day by day since 2017. And today, we built a mega ecosystem that supports startup companies in acceleration programs from pre-seed to Series B. We work with multinational companies. Over 500 corporations are members in our ecosystem today, and we work with them to innovate their business and to outcompete. And we invest in phenomenal founders who want to build brilliant companies. And we do that with the support of brilliant global, foreign and local investors that believe in our ability to invest in these companies, to invest in you, and to build together companies that will change the world. And so much more. We have amazing friends in our ecosystem that we partner with in order to achieve this goal and to invest in the Israeli market. And some of them have made the path and came here today to meet you. And so, we are happy to share that we've closed recently our first family and friends fund, and we're now raising a $35 million commerce fund. We are raising $100 million of Sarona Ventures 2, and we are open for applications for our scale-up programs, both for the seed and the Series A programs. And so, without any further ado, we kick off this event. We have many people lined up upstairs, and I hope that this event will be the beginning of a tradition of Sarona partners and our amazing sponsors bringing to Israel Silicon Valley. So welcome, you are our pioneers, pioneering this journey of bringing Silicon Valley investors and personas to Israel. Thank you, and welcome to the stage, our first speaker of the day. You can clap, it's okay, go ahead. This is an interactive event. It goes much better when you participate. So welcome to the stage, our first speaker of the day, the wonderful Guy, CEO and founder of Check.
Don't clap for me. I'm a failed entrepreneur. I'm not like Philippe or Toot. I'm just, one guy that it worked out for him one time. So first of all, thanks everyone for coming here. My name is Guy Taitunovich. I'm the CEO and founder of a small company called Check. Recently became a unicorn like most Israeli startups, so I'm not that proud of it. And when they asked me to talk today, they said that I should be talking about why did it take me so long to build $1 billion company. And by the way, it took us 6 years. So first of all, apologies to the ecosystem that it took us so long. But in all seriousness, we're all aware, most of our parents didn't accumulate wealth. Most of our parents worked for 40, 50 years to accumulate a small, nice pension, and they were lucky if they were able to do that. So I'm humbled to have been able to build the small company that I've built. And I thought to tell you a bit about my journey, because it did take me 37 years to become the entrepreneur that I am today, and it all began with a fax machine. Mid 6 years old, Guy Taitunovich, that's me at 6 years old, a little more than 31 years ago. This was before the ulcer, before the entrepreneurial journey, before the eating disorders, sleepless nights, and tough road ahead. I was quite optimistic here. This was only after my first startup. But in all seriousness, it all became when I was 6 years old and my dad brought home a fax machine, and I thought to myself, oh my God, what is this amazing machine? Is this a robot with small people lined up inside of it transcribing what we're telling them? And I set about to dismantle this piece and look for those small people inside of it, and I did dismantle it and discovered that it's just bolts and stuff and not small people. But my dad was pretty happy, surprisingly, about that, because he said, well, son, you might have a future. This is called reverse engineering. And this started my path in cybersecurity. Obviously a friendless nerd, Actually, I wasn't that friendless, but I definitely was a nerd. And like most Israeli 18-year-old nerds, I too joined Unit 8200, the Israeli part of the Israeli Defense Intelligence. And on my first day of training, the commander of the training told me, the first day in a 9-year journey, by the way, told us, you're a bunch of nerds with no training. You're all self-taught. You're a bunch of spoiled brats. And for every one of you, the Iranians, the Syrians, the people around us, our enemies have about 10 to 20 PhDs. So we're going to teach you this thing called artificial intelligence. To those of you who don't know, today we call it AI. It started with artificial intelligence, as I mentioned, about 20 years ago. And that was my path into cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. The ability to overcome adversaries with compensating for the lack of manpower. We're a tiny state relying on a very young workforce for the military, the defense intelligence, and so on. And that's where my humble beginnings started. Chapter 2, 7 years later, after I left the military, I called it Everybody's Gotta Learn Sometimes, because this was my learning stage in the business world. And also because it's the theme song for a movie called Eternal Sunshine in a Spotless Mind, which is what really every entrepreneur should have if they want to succeed. Eternal Sunshine in a Spotless Mind. And my journey began with a company called Edzuk, or how I was CEO during the day and a paperboy plus driver at night. Edzuk, I thought it would be cool to start a business. I was a young, stupid entrepreneur, and it was 10 years ago or so it still made sense to start a company without a product, even if you're a techie. And I started a digital ad network in the Middle East and North Africa. I thought it would be fun to meet with people and not sit in front of a computer for 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. And it was indeed fun, but I don't know if you know, the Israeli military doesn't pay that well. So my savings were out in like 6 months. I put everything I had into the company. It takes a while for a company with a young CEO to turn a profit. So I couldn't pay myself a salary. So at night, literally, I woke up at around 9 a.m. You'll understand why so late in a second. And I was CEO from 9 to about 9, 10. Then I would go, I was a driver of a drag queen performer in bachelorette parties. Her name was Josie Divine. Divine she is indeed. And then at about 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I had a paper route, Gordon Street in Tel Aviv, Mapo. 10 years ago, you got your paper from me. And that was indeed a humbling experience. It was very difficult. It was very painstaking. Got home at about 5, 6 a.m., went to sleep for a whole 3 hours, woke up CEO. Did that for about 2 years until I could pay myself about $2,000 a month to pay the rent. Edzuk sold for a shitty multiple of 0.3 because back then, I didn't yet realize that as a techie, as a product guy, I could be building a product and getting a better multiple for it when I end up selling. And it was very evident to us that, we needed to scale business in another industry, in another field. So we started Combo Tag, or When I Learned Not to Mess with Google. One very, very important lesson for every entrepreneur out there. And what Combo Tech did was we thought it would be fun to help advertisers maintain brand safety, not have their ads next to bad content, next to scary content, bad images. I'll give you a few examples. This is an ad with a duck on a page talking about the fear that you are being watched by a duck. So this is obviously, this is the grand problem that we were solving for. Turkish Airlines. Yeah, I don't know who did that, but he was a genius, or she. And of course, everyone's favorite, 1 in 3 people in Louisiana will die from heart disease, and then 2 for $3. Croissant. It is delicious, though, and very much the reason of why I now look like this. But they gave me superpowers. Those 2 relative failures, somewhat successes, gave me some superpowers. One thing is that it taught me how to recruit. And that is the thing I do. I convince people to join my journey. I don't actually know what it is about me that makes them join, but I discovered that is what I do best. And as long as I can convince people to join me in my journey, then I probably can be fine. Another thing that Adzu got me was understanding that I now believe that experience and persistence are significantly more important than talent, genius, promise. I somewhat stole it from a movie about the founder of McDonald's, but I believed in that even before, or I learned that even before. Persistence is the most important thing, then persistence, then persistence. The fourth most important thing is experience. It gave me a deep understanding of business operations, roles and responsibilities, and scaling, a science in itself. If there are pre-seed stage entrepreneurs out there, go and find yourself a phenomenal, experienced chief operating officer, probably the most important thing you do. Mine used to be the COO of Salesforce Datorama, and before that of NatVision. Israelis here know it. A genius and my co-founder, Omri Tamir, one of my co-founders. And understanding how to scale a business, understanding roles and responsibilities, understanding that an account executive and account manager aren't the same thing, understanding how to build a SaaS business in terms of CS versus sales. It's a science in itself, and it's never too soon to learn that. I can't stress this enough. To a certain extent, I mean, I think what we do saves lives to a certain extent. I think our product is friggin' amazing, but business operations is the most, and I think Philippe, who also co-built an amazing ecosystem, an amazing company with Deal, would agree, business operations is the most important thing in scaling a company. Roles and responsibilities and understanding who you need to recruit, how you need to recruit them, is one of the biggest things you can do. And almost finally, measurement is key. Edzuk taught me that. Understanding how every single person in your business operates, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, measuring every single point in your business is key. I specifically have, in the home office, I have 6 different monitors with a ton of BI systems, Tableau, Salesforce. We've become addicted, but it helps us understand exactly what to do in real time. And finally, it got me 2 Czech co-founders. One of them is Ehud Levy, my chairman, formerly chairman of Taptica, Tremor International, and others. And Asaf, my CTO and best friend since I was 6 years old. Cambotag got me a bunch of other superpowers. It got me the deep understanding of product market fit. Our product, solving for brand safety, it wasn't a very good product market fit, even though it's a great fit for this deck here. And I think it helped me understand. With Cambotech, for instance, we were very lucky to get 2 first contracts very quickly, very big contracts, and it fooled us into thinking that we actually have product market fit. We didn't, and that's why the company failed. Understanding when you actually have product market fit. And by the way, when you have $20 million of ARR, even then, you don't necessarily have product market fit. We're currently at about $40 million of ARR at Czech, which I'll present to you in a sec. And I'm still thinking that we might have, and we're growing like crazy and very efficiently, and I'm still wondering, do we have product market fit? We're a pretty big company, we're a unicorn, and I'm still constantly wondering, do we have product market fit? That obsession will save you a lot of time and failures. Cambotech also taught me, or gave me, the ability to get kicked in the groin and still smile and get up. Another thing that it got me is then to fall face first in the mud and still smile and get up. And then get hit by a truck and still smile and get up. I can't stress enough how persistence is important. Until I was 27, I'm a graduate of a very astute training program in the Israeli Defense Intelligence called Chaman Talpiyot. Until I was 27 years old, I mostly got yeses. People mostly told me yes. People told me that I'm great in many things. You know, life was fairly easy. I don't come from a rich family, but you know, when you're a nerd, a lot of things come easy. When I became 27 years old, left the military and became a businessman, an entrepreneur, life became hard. Let me tell you, my failures are way more glorious than my one success story. I'm 37 years old today, and I've got mostly failure stories to tell you and one success story. You get kicked in the nuts, pardon my French, so many times in that path, so many times in that route. And one of the secrets is, who gives a flying F? Just get the F up and continue running. Never, ever effing give up. And it always also got me one of the Czech co-founders, Omri, that I told you earlier about, my co-founder and COO. And chapter 3, I called it very boringly Czech, because it's the least interesting part of this quick deck. This is the one success that I actually had. Czech today is the global leader in go-to-market security, a category that we invented. It wasn't very tough to be. We were global leaders in that at the very beginning. Now there are quite a few companies in that field, but we're still at 95% market share thereabout from everyone who currently uses a solution go-to-market security. What we do is we secure every bit of your go-to-market operation, organization, systems, platforms, from everything that is bad and scary, the boogeyman of digital. We have customers that love us and rave about us and tell that we're mission critical. I never had, in the previous startups, never ever had customers who were actually in love with us. Far from it. Product market fit. Today we've raised $183 million of venture capital. Our last round was $151 million. They took $1 million away from us. So annoying. Tiger Global, Battery Ventures are our investors. We've got offices in a bunch of places, scaling up, scaling up, scaling up. But the real secret, I mentioned it as my first kind of superpower, if I can be so pretentious, is the ability again, I made this mistake, to get people to come and work with me. No worries, I need way less than that. Among a few, my COO, Omri, who's already done it many times, Nitzan, my chief business officer, used to be the chief business officer of Salesforce Datorama as well. Toby, my amazing VP people, VP HR, who's probably the most important person in the company. Asaf used to be the chief product officer at Checkmarks before, and before that, Perian. Limor, Dave, Sefi used to be the head of user acquisition at Monday.com before he became our chief growth officer right after IPO. And what I'm trying to tell you, people, is that people are the most important thing. Get people around you that are smarter than you, that are better than you, and most importantly, that have a ton of experience, persistence and experience. Our go-to-market motion is really cool. What we do essentially is we have a zero-touch motion, a self-serve platform. We get about 150 new, this is old. We only had 100 new paying customers every single day there. Now we have about 150, 6 months later. New signups every single day, out of which about 10% are enterprise eligible, and we convert them through a nurturing sales team to enterprise customers in a very much enterprise sales motion. Again, business operations, ladies and gentlemen. This is so friggin' important. Have your go-to-market to scale built to perfection. Nothing more important than that. And this is why it took us so long to build $1 billion company. It's kind of difficult. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was my story in brief. I want to thank you and thanks Sarona Partners for having me. Toot, thank you so much.
Thank you. And, stay for 1 second. I agree with you on two things. One is that people are most important and you need to choose people smarter than you. I never went to school and I have a PhD and an engineer next to me. So everything is taken care of. And the second thing is the business operation and COO. My COO is an engineer taking in the pocket your Salesforce guy.
Hopefully for you.
Thank you.
Much.
Raise your hand if you've ever got hacked. Those of you who don't, it's okay to share. Next speaker coming on the stage is an amazing woman that, believe it or not, she is actually the first ever Israeli female hacker. So beware, and Sol, get on the stage.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for Sarona Partners for inviting me to speak with you and share my story. My dream as a child was to become a writer, or a singer, and I was all about writing. And by the age of 30, I published 3 books. The first one was at the age of 21. It has nothing to do about romance or music. It was about computers. The other 2 books was published by Microsoft Corporation, all about cybersecurity and privacy. So my name is Sol Tzvi. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. And my story starting when I was chatting with a very nice guy for 3 to 4 hours. We're talking about life in general and every cool stuff that we could share with each other. And after a while, I was just asking him, so tell me where you are from. And he told me that he is from Lebanon. And trust me, I was so excited that the world becomes so tiny. And suddenly I could talk with what we called enemy. And I said, wow, the internet changed everything. This is a big thing for humanity. And I asked him, so he asked me back, like, so where are you from? And I was totally excited, telling him that I'm from Israel. He was excited, and he said, so you're a Palestinian chick? And I said, no, actually, I'm Israeli, Jewish, and I didn't finish the sentence to say woman. And something just happened to my computer. Things just moved upside down. My desktop looked like a mess. And I got a note saying, you have been hacked. And I figured that something really weird just happened. So back then, I unplugged the computer. Nowadays, for the young people, you just turn off the Wi-Fi. And so I unplugged the cable, and I said, okay. I scratched my head thinking what just happened. And that was a very defining moment. And the reason is that things that I believed was impossible become possible. When I saw walls in places, there were a guy there in Lebanon that saw open doors. That changed my life. That moment changed my life, because that's not the only thing that I got. I got another thing that just I carry during my path and my career. And that is that everything that you read in a book, as somebody that my dream was to be a book writer, and I published a few books, it's a history book. So if I want to become or look at the future, I need to become part of it. I can't just read it in the book, because that's a history book. I wrote myself like 1 or 2, yeah? So I didn't join the university. I didn't study there. I was looking for the information everywhere. At the dark net with friends, just closed forms that I can try to sneak in. And I got the information everywhere. I was actually what you call a black hat at night, and at the morning I used to hold the white hat. So one day I was invited to a very big bank here in Israel. I was involved with very cool projects, and in this bank, just before that, I was involved in many cool projects, as I mentioned, working with the IDF, the Air Force. I wonder how come we didn't work together. Maybe you're just too young. And 27, yeah. 37, you're still too young. So I was working, as I mentioned, the IDF, the Air Force, the Prime Minister offices, electricity companies, and also bank, telecoms, etc. So I was invited to a very important meeting talking about cybersecurity for one of the largest banks here in Israel. And it was a very, very long table with a very bold and old guys, and me as a young female talking about cybersecurity. That was rare also that times. And I tried to explain to them what I understood back then, that security, you need to build a layers of defense, that it's starting with the coding and continue with more layers to protect the bank. But they were sure that they're doing everything so right, and they are the most secure bank in the entire world. So I took this note from this meeting, took it very close to my heart, and went back home. And for the next 3 days, I was just busy trying to get into this bank until I succeed. I was very happy about it. But what I learned from this guy from Lebanon, that you need to leave a note, say, hey guys, you have been hacked. But I was a very busy lady, and that time I didn't do that. And 2 years later, I coming back from a party around 5 a.m. in the morning. I had a chance to sleep only 1 hour until I heard some knocking in my bedroom. I opening my eyes, trying to figure out where I am. I slept only for 1 hour. And I see somebody, some female in my bedroom. That was weird, because as much as I'm trying to remember, I just don't know this woman. And I don't know who sent her to my bedroom or where I am, and how the hell I got a brain damage that morning that just delete all my memory. And that was the police. So they come to say hello, and they took me for a very long investigation. That's, I believe, how I got the title of the first female hacker, because probably I was the first one that got caught. So Microsoft heard about what I'm doing at night, and they invited me to start a very, very cool department in the R&D center to take very smart engineers and try to transform them to hackers. That was a very big challenge, because to take something so creative as hacking and try to put it in like boxes and methodology and work with the corporate America kind of thing, that was very challenging, but we did that. By the way, it's very related to your story as well, because the first 2 servers that we started and tried to hack was the fax server, and the other one was the ISA server, which is the first firewall that Microsoft was building. The idea was some kind of quality assurance. Let's try to dig into the protocols, the authentication protocol, the traffic, and try to build tools that will hack into the system. So after doing this for a while, Microsoft hired me to build the first cybersecurity department in Israel. Israel was one of the 5 companies in the entire Europe that they allowed them to open such a role and to test how it's going to affect the local market. That was a very interesting role. I did it for a while. And from there, I quit my job in Microsoft Israel. I relocated to the States. And I joined the SBTU unit, which what we did, we built the encryption that you're probably using in the Office and Windows. I was working with very smart people there. And the last position I did in Microsoft in the States was leading the strategy for North America for cybersecurity, of course, for Microsoft. So that seems like very nice life. I had very cool car, very nice house. And I was thinking, I had like envision of the future, seeing myself. I'm a single mom today, by the way, for 2 great kids, small kids. I'm a late bloomer. But I could envision my life having like a nice cottage, have 3 kids running around, like little white dog named Roxy, and probably a husband or something. That seems to me, okay, interesting, but the next not that interesting, because I could imagine myself becoming a VP at Microsoft Corporation, being on a stage talking about Kerberos protocol or something, or even maybe leave cybersecurity and start doing something else. At that moment of life, that seems a little boring for me, and I decided to shake the boat, because what I believed at the age of 30 is that every 10 years or so, a man or a woman need to check her path to see if the dreams that I dreamed when I was a little kid or the dream that I dreamed years ago, 2 years ago, 1 month ago, is it still relevant? If the path I'm going, is that the path I want to go? And the answer for me was no, because I wanted to feel shaky again. I want to feel insecure again. I want to conquer another hill. And at that time, my path looks for me too obvious. So I moved back after 2.5 months from the decision. I sold the house, the condo house, I sold the car, I just moved back. And I started to search for something that I will be passionate again. And you won't believe it, I found something that I had no clue about and nothing. I need to learn totally from scratch. And that was, guess, an AI. So I was totally excited about machine learning. As a female, the female in the crowd maybe will understand my feelings. I felt very, very weird that I come and walking with this, like working on this computer like 10 hours a day, and this dummy metal box just don't understand anything about me, don't get my thoughts. And that was weird for me. So I started a company called Genio Innovation. It's nothing to do with cybersecurity, it has nothing to do with enterprise. It was all B2C AI, trying to answer a very cool question is what will interest the user next? I figured that Google like indexing the entire web and somebody need to do the opposite direction, go the opposite direction and will understand or will index our needs or our profiling in a sense, what today Google and Facebook doing it in the wrong way, and match between the two. So that was in general the idea. I raised $5 million for this. 2008, very hard time, just familiar to these times, to this year maybe. And this question, by the way, was very philosophical question. Just when I was dealing with cybersecurity, I really fell in love with a very old speaker, that he was the keynote speaker of DEF CON and Black Hat. What intrigued me with his speak, that it always combined philosophy and cybersecurity. It was a magic for me the way he did that. And when I went to the AI and tried to understand or to answer the question, what will interest me or you next, I just love it because I understand that the history of what we did yesterday is not the best prediction of tomorrow. So if yesterday I was a very lousy poker player, that doesn't mean that that's what I will be tomorrow. That only means that I need to practice more, I need to work hard maybe, and I need to get some luck. So this question was very philosophical, as I mentioned, and it wasn't easy because as we build a very, very good algorithm, we figured I was involved in 5 patents around the AI and recommendation, and I figured that as the algorithm become better and better, we building just worse product. The products not become better, it become worse. And the reason is that if you will ask me something about myself, I will tell you all the good stuff. I will tell you that I love art and museums and I love music. And Tori Amos is my favorite singer. So you will build some kind of newspaper, very smart for me, but I'll get all this article. But eventually, if I open Ynet, I do read some gossip about Bar Rafaeli, which I will never gonna tell you. Okay, so in order to build something interesting, we need to a little bit understand the humankind, the human being. So when I fly to the US and try to convince all the big publishers, the CNN, the New York Times, Fox News, you name it, I met them all. And I try to convince them that the people, they need to define, they need to choose what they want to read next, what's relevant for them. And they were looking at me like crazy and saying, that's impossible because we pay salary for the editor to choose what the reader gonna read tomorrow. We want to define the agenda of tomorrow. And they just didn't get it. I think Tabula got it how many years later, and today if you open the Chrome browsers, you'll see a lot of links to very cool articles that's relevant to your reading habits, and that's exactly what we did in 2008. So I came back empty-handed from the US for a long trip, thinking that nobody really got what we're doing. We got check, like $10 million to buy our company, and I didn't want to sell it yet because I really strongly believe in what we're doing. I was looking at my bank account, the company bank account. We left with $200,000. That's not enough. With the salary today for developers, it won't enough even for 1 month. Back then, I can buy a few months with this money. But I was thinking, that's impossible. We have only, I don't know, a few options. One option,